Namaste. Welcome to Sipping on Stories podcast, where we welcome women healers and spiritual leaders from all around the world to come and share their journey and their experiences, and of course, over warm cups and deep thoughts. Please subscribe, like, and share this podcast so we can spread some love. Thank you. Hi Puja, welcome to Sipping on Stories. I'm very glad to have you here. So please tell our listeners where you're joining from, and also if you can give a little bit of introduction about yourself as what you do to our listeners, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Sareen, for such a great introduction. And this is such a great podcast, and I'm glad to be here. Hi, everyone. I am Puja Shah. I'm joining here from UK today. And today we are going to talk a little about what is energy medicine and how can it help you heal your issues. I am a energy medicine practitioner with Best Healing Solutions, and I help people overcome their non-healing issues, meaning something that they have tried to heal for so long and they haven't found any relief. How I do this is finding the root cause. What is the root cause that is keeping the symptom or the pain stuck? It's not allowing it to move. Maybe you have tried another bunch of things and it just didn't work. Or it did work, but not to a stage where you want it to work. So this is where the work comes into play, and where everything ends, this is where my work starts. So yeah.
I love that. I love what you say, because I have seen a lot of people try out different things that haven't worked for them in the past. So I like that you said your work really starts from where your clients might think it's ended for them. So
Yeah.
it's lovely. So I know you are a energy practitioner or energy medicine practitioner. Is that right? Is that correct to state that? And I've
Correct.
never heard of I've heard of energy healing before, but energy medicine is something new for me, and I'm pretty sure the listeners would be curious to know all about it. But before
Sure.
we kind of get into what it is and who it is for, can you tell us where exactly your journey began? I'm pretty sure this is not a coincidence, and you were meant to do this, work to help people out. So tell us where it actually began.
Yeah, sure. I'm glad you asked. And it is quite a journey. And the reason why I started is because of my own health. See, I am into the paramedical field, nutrition. I'm a nutritionist by qualification. I was always from when I was a child, I was always into how to prevent something. I was like, my passion was around what is it that I need to do in order to prevent an illness.
Hmm.
That's why I studied nutrition. I wanted to prevent as many illnesses as possible, and it was going good until my own health. I felt, I could not find answers. I had insomnia, I had anxiety, I had depression, I had dizziness for more than 2 years. It didn't go away. For 2 years, my life was about everything was planned around my dizziness.
Hmm.
So I was working, but it was planned around my dizziness. This is the point when I felt, okay, prevention is good, but how about if someone already fall ill, there has to be something, has to be in place. You can take some steps to get yourself better to where you were before.
Hmm.
Where I went into all different sorts of modalities apart from medicine. I was always into that field. I've always worked with doctors in the hospital setup.
Hmm.
And I was wondering, oh, okay, this is good, but there has to be a better way. There has to be a rapid way. This is where I looked into a lot of other modalities which were doing alternative healing or non-traditional, you may say. And they helped me to an extent, but not to the point where I could, all of those strategies that I learned before helped me to cope with my
Hmm.
symptoms. It did not help me to heal my symptoms, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
this is where I found energy medicine.
Hmm.
Began with Best Healing Solutions as a client of theirs, and ultimately, I was so curious. I ended up learning the work myself,
Hmm.
and I virtually got invited by Beth Daniel Jones, who is the founder of the company, and today I work alongside with her. She is in US.
Oh, I see. Wow, that's interesting. So, um, So with this one, with the healing itself, so what does it entail? What exactly do you do in order to heal a person? Is it just with the kind of medicine, or is it like energy healing that also gets associated and involved with this? And if you
Okay.
can also tell us who can really get into this, or who can be a recipient of this particular healing modality that you have to offer. Can it be done virtually, or does someone have to be in person in order to get the healing done, and who it is for? So yeah,
Those are a lot of questions.
yes. Sorry, I'll
And
break it down for you.
that's fine. That's fine. So to answer your question, like, is it virtual or someone has to be in person? So my healer, Carolee Johnson, she is in US
Hmm.
and we have never met. So all the healing took place remotely for me
Oh,
and it
okay.
worked. I'm an
Mm,
example.
mm,
I'm the proof. So the same thing that I do with my clients, all my sessions are remote. Even if I know them, even if it is a family member, or even if it is a client of mine, even if they are local or whether in some other country, I work with people all around the globe. I
mm,
have clients from Europe, Asia, US, UK. So whether they are local or they are global, I
mm,
work with them over the phone because it is so much easier and so much effective to do that
mm,
way.
mm.
We haven't started doing this remote healing because of COVID. We have been always doing it remotely for more than 27 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Mm.
Yeah, so this has always been remote. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
does yeah,
yeah, of course. I think this is wonderful because you can then access or have people accessing you a lot more. There's,
yeah,
people who would want to heal, they can
that's
have
the aim.
access to this,
That is
energy
the
medicine.
aim. Yeah,
Yeah.
as I mentioned, when I was in hospital, when I was working in a hospital setup as a nutritionist, I
Mm,
was like, okay, the only people who comes to hospital have access to these facilities. Now, there could be people who might not be able to access these facilities, or maybe they have a hospital nearby, but they
mm,
can't access the same amount, if it depending on where they are and which state they are, what is it that the hospitals are offering, it changes.
mm,
So this is where I love energy medicine, remote healing, because it always offers everything to everyone, no matter where they are or no matter what their symptoms are.
right.
So yeah, this
Yeah.
is this is this is my thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, you just blown my mind actually. It's kind of unique to hear healings that are performed remotely. It's quite interesting. People are sometimes skeptics about, you find a lot of skeptics around
Yeah. And that's
when you talk
okay.
about healing,
Yeah.
healing and remote healing. So how do you deal with people who kind of are skeptical about the healing at first to begin with, or have you had any comments and
Yeah,
questions?
yeah. So the first thing is I might have had people who might ask me, okay, how energy medicine works. I have never really had anyone who have asked me whether this works or not,
Hmm,
because probably this is their last result and
right.
there is nothing else left. So they want to try it because they are so desperate in terms of getting themselves better.
Hmm, hmm,
I have never ever had to convince anybody like why you need this. Of course, I do share principles of how this works. What is it that you need to do? Because what I believe is my job as an energy medicine practitioner is to find all the information that a person needs in order to heal themselves.
right.
After my session is complete, I wrap the whole session into a field and
Hmm,
I give them a treatment code at the end of the session.
right.
The person reads the code and they do their own healing. So part of my job is to empower them to do their own healing. So if
Hmm,
you had an issue, like say headaches,
hmm,
right, in the middle of the night, that is
hmm,
not the time you are looking for help or something. That is the time that you want an instant relief and you want to
hmm,
go to bed.
hmm,
So my job, my intention, my mission is to empower others, my clients, whoever I come in contact with, with this work,
hmm,
is to help them understand how is it that they can do their own healing. My job
wow.
is to find healing information.
Hmm,
They do their own healing.
Mm.
So yeah, it's kind of a two-way street.
Right.
So yeah, I think people who are desperate, people who are in pain, someone who is going through, like myself, I was going through dizziness. I'm not going to question whether this stuff works or not. What I did was, how can I access this and get myself healed? That's the
Mm.
question I need to ask.
Mm.
So yeah.
Wow, this is very powerful and also empowering, right? You kind of giving a code to your clients where they can
Sure.
work on their own healing. So I think that's wonderful. So I'm a bit curious now to ask you, how exactly does this work? So you don't have to go in detail, of course, but just give us like a
Fine.
high level overview of how energy medicine works, because this is something new for me as well. So I'm pretty sure it'll be for our listeners too.
Sure. One principle that I work on
Mm.
is your body is made to heal itself.
Mm.
If it is not healing, there are blocks. We
Mm.
call it energetic blocks. As I said, my job is to find out what is blocking your healing.
Mm.
Once we find what's blocking, what we call revealing to healing, what you reveal heals.
Mm.
So then the body takes it from there and the body heals itself.
Mm.
Another thing is communication. A lot of time, communication shuts down within the body. We all have a healing intelligence, as
Mm.
in, we have a blueprint that we are born with. Nature has given us such a gift in the form of this body that it could actually to access that
Mm.
blueprint, there has to be a communication like we are communicating right now. You are in Australia, I am in UK. We are communicating through a channel, and that communication is on. If
Mm.
that were to shut down, our communication would shut down.
Mm.
Same goes for the body.
Right.
If the organs, glands, tissues, your eyes, liver, kidneys, etc., if they could communicate with the
Mm.
healing intelligence already knows what needs to be done in order to heal. So second component is to establish that communication.
Yeah.
And the third component of healing is the emotional fields.
Mm.
Anytime. So that is actually a part of blocks. So we categorize blocks into three types of blocks.
Mhm.
First, I call it physical blocks. That includes something that you are eating. Is there anything that
Mm.
you are eating which is contributing, not allowing your body to heal? It could be a food that is healthy, but it's not good for your body. That was a light bulb moment for me. There was something I was eating, I think it was tomatoes, and it contributed to the histamine reaction in my body. No blood test is ever going to tell you that.
Mm. Wow. Okay.
Wheat, a lot of people are, and I'm not talking about allergies. What I am talking about is toxicity.
Mm.
We might not realize, but there are certain foods that could be toxic for a certain conditions or certain, body types.
Mm. Wow.
So that's one thing. Second thing is everything that you are inhaling, everything that is contacting the skin, everything that is, piercing through the skin, like shots or spider bites, or, something that we call them injectants.
Mm.
So these are the type of physical blocks that I would look at.
Mm.
Second category is pathogens, viruses, fungus, bacteria, and I am not talking about the actual fungus. I'm talking about an energetic frequency, energetic signature of a fungus. This is
Right.
what I'm testing when I'm on a call with someone in my treatment session. I want to know if there is a fungal infection. I want to know if there is a parasite, if there is a bacteria, if there is biofilms, mycoplasma, which is a type of bacteria. So
Mm.
I want to know whether there are frequencies which are actually blocking, because this viruses, bacteria, etc., they do the DNA damage, and
Mm.
it not allow the body to access the healing information. But once they are cleared, your body can re-establish the communication. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It's good that I've had some science background myself, so I understand it
Yeah.
definitely. But it makes sense because you want to eliminate all this, communication or this mask that's in between, like a middleman. You want to kind of eradicate them, making sure that your organs and all your tissues and your cells are receiving the energy they need.
Yeah,
And it's not all kind of consumed up by these bacteria that are sitting, which are unwanted really, in your body.
sure.
So it does make sense. Okay, that's very interesting. But how do you kind of, what kind of tools do you use in order to identify
Yeah.
these pathogens in the body? And you said that, like for example, like you can't consume tomatoes because it contains histamines that are not good for your body, which cause, pretty sure they cause you like an allergy reaction per se. Is that a correct term to use?
Tomatoes cause the histamine reaction. So yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of, yeah.
Tomatoes were causing the histamine reactions. The wheat was causing the inflammation. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So
if if a blood
we
test
have
cannot detect this, so what kind
we
of test
we
do you?
not we don't do any blood test or stuff. We might advise, depending on who I'm working with, I might
Mm,
advise, okay, I feel that, it will be beneficial if we go and get this checked. However, that is not, um, I mean, what I say, I don't always have to do that, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
in order for me to find out. So the way we find is by doing muscle testing.
muscle
The
test.
tool that we use. Yeah. Yeah, the tool that I use. And on our company website, if somebody is interested, they can also kind of sign up to, make themselves familiar with how to use it. We have products that they can buy, to get started. And yeah, if you want to learn the work yourself, yeah, it is available for you.
Right.
However,
Okay.
what I do is I muscle test. I want to find out what is blocking your body's healing. And then I am using myself as a surrogate, but I'm testing the person whom I'm working with.
Hmm.
So I'm using my body, my field as a surrogate to the person I'm treating. And I get the answers through muscle testing.
Hmm. Wow, this is very interesting. You've just kind of blown my mind today. It's very interesting, very curious. And you know, being kind of, one of the main things that I also kind of focus on this podcast is talking about women's issues as well, because sometimes I feel like this is not kind of spoken in the open very much.
Hmm.
Like for example, UTI in women, it's very common, but nobody talks about it. And
Yeah.
at this moment, I could be talking to you and have UTI, but we don't talk about it, right? And a lot of women go through it on a daily basis. Like just an example that I have kind of come, from my experience. So, so are there any, I'm pretty sure you have women and men and other, children coming to you, but have you had any particular kind of chronic illnesses that women come with that usually comes up and which is very common and not a lot of people talk about it, even maybe in the medical sense or even like common people?
Before I answer that question, I think I would like to answer who is the recipient, the question that you asked me earlier. Who is the recipient of energy medicine?
Yes.
I would like to answer that because I get a lot of questions around, okay, I have such and such issue, can you help? Oh, I have something not to do with the chronic illness, but is this, can you help? The answer is sky is the limit with this
Mm,
work. So I work with all sorts of conditions. I personally like to, and it's my expertise to work with chronic illness.
mm,
However, I can work with other stuff as well.
mm,
Where did this come from? My clients. I work with someone and then they ask me, oh, my daughter has such and such issue. Can you help her?
mm,
Yes. My husband is dealing with such and such, stuff with his business and partners and land and stuff. Can you help? Yes. Answer is narrowed down to one statement, which is everything is energy.
mm,
And if something is not working, you feel stuck in certain areas, there are blocks. Before physical, there are energetic blocks.
mm,
That is my expertise to find out what are the energetic blocks in this issue and then clear it.
mm.
This is where my expertise lie.
Right.
So it is not limited to women's health, kids' health, men's health, hormonal issues. No, it's
Mm,
not. I work with people with chronic illness. I have worked with people with abundance issues.
Mm.
Okay, I want such and such job. I have a job, but it's not a field job. I want field job. Why am I not getting a field job? Are there any blocks? Is this something to do with yourself? Yes
Mm.
or no? Is this generational? Yes or no? So we also deal with the generational field. Sometimes you might have seen, certain illnesses run in the family, like heart
Mm.
issues,
Mm.
or lungs issues, or respiratory issues, kidney issues. They run in the family. Grandfather, father, son, his son, they all have it in some shape or form.
Yeah.
So we have something called miasm scan, and we run that scan to clear that frequency, find out where is it that you're holding this miasm, and we can clear that.
Mm. Okay.
So yeah, going back to that, I have worked with someone who have had relationship issues. I don't want to involve my husband, but this is the challenge that we are facing. What can we do together on our session?
Mm.
Sure, things we could do. I would look at what is it that is causing this relationship issues. Usually, it is a trauma.
Mm.
My job is to find out what trauma is for that person.
Right.
If I was working with you, it would be a different trauma history
Mm.
because we've all grown up in a different environment. We've all had a different physiology, different parents, different countries. Everything was different. It's so unique, just like fingerprints. So our experiences are unique. Therefore, our trauma history would be unique.
Mm. Right.
So yeah. We, using this modality, have worked with all sorts of issues.
Right. And just a question on, I'm just curious about it. When you talk about, healing, you talked about it's not only, illnesses or chronic conditions, but you also work with people who have relationship issues or financial issues. So sometimes when you do your work, I would imagine that you might need to be, certain level of intuition that you need to have. So when you're kind of working with these people, is it always related, the trauma that you talked about, is it always related to when they were younger or to their past lives? I'm not sure, how that kind of fits into what you with energy medicine. I'm not sure if this is something that has come up in your work really, but I was just curious to understand if that trauma could be related. Where could it be coming from? Is it
That is
people?
the question we
Yeah.
need to ask. So that is the question I would ask on my session when I'm with my client. Because
Mm.
as I said, everyone's different. Other
Mm.
day, I worked with a lady and she had a trauma from 22 years before we met, or like before the time we were doing the session. It was to do with the stepmom, and yeah,
Mm.
all sorts of stuff came up. She is in her 60s at the moment, so the trauma was from before 22 years, around 40s.
Wow.
So it depends on what is the issue that we are working with. It
Mm.
also depends on what the person has gone through in their life, and based on that, what is the perception that they are carrying? What is the perception? What I mean to say is, when I say perception, if you've heard Bruce Lipton, he has done an extensive study he's a cell biologist, and he has proven that either we are vibrating at the state of love,
Mm.
joy, happiness, or we are vibrating at the state of fear.
Yes.
So
Mm.
either of this will decide how you perceive the world,
Mm.
others, divine. What are your beliefs about yourself, about others, about the divine, about suffering? What are
Mm.
your beliefs? What are the emotions to go with it? What other intentions came up out of it?
Mm.
So, to answer your question, whether it is always trauma, yes, but there are always other factors involved as well.
Yeah.
For example, the lady that I worked with who had trauma from 22 years before we met,
Mm.
it was not just the trauma, but once you reveal that trauma piece, there were other things that were lying there which the body was not able to see before.
Mm.
Because trauma is like a curtain, and that does not allow you to see what's behind it, right? Like on stage. But
Mm.
once the curtain is open, you can see what is behind it.
Yeah.
So there are all sorts of stuff that are kind of interconnected, interrelated, interwoven, and you need to reveal it all. But once you reveal the major layer, it will
Mm.
show you what other layers.
Yeah.
So there could be a trauma attached with sensitivity to eating wheat, right?
Very
There could be other pathogens
mm.
which are there. So yeah, it is all interrelated. It is not always just trauma unless you are dealing with, just a particular trauma. You know what I mean? Yeah, but it is always, and everyone's different. I'm not saying this is always true. What I am trying to say is healing always comes up in layers, like you peel an
Mm.
onion.
Yes.
Yeah, it always comes up in layers. Once you've healed the first layer, there might be something else that comes up. Okay, now you need to heal this. Okay, you heal that. Something else comes up. Okay, now I can see this. I need to heal this.
Mm.
Until you have healed all the pieces of, all the layers, all the pieces of the puzzle,
Mm.
this is where true and lasting healing takes place.
Yeah, wow, it's very interesting. I've never heard this kind of healing before, so it kind of just blowing my mind, and I would love to kind of research it more really.
Sure.
And Pooja, you mentioned that anyone can get into it and start practicing it. So if maybe our listeners from
You
today's
mentioned that
episode.
I, I mentioned that anyone can start learning it because there are stages. When I started, I did level 1, level 2, level 3, but anything you do starts from muscle testing. So
Mm,
if someone is interested, they can go on our website and they can just start learning like how to muscle test. We call it Truth Techniques. It's called Truth Techniques, the product, and yeah, can start from there.
awesome. And if you could also tell our listeners in terms of what kind of books they can kind of read in their journey of kind of exploring this, if this has intrigued their curiosity on finding out what energy medicine is a little bit more, if you have any recommendations you can make for our listeners today.
My first and most recommended book is The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. And
Okay.
you can learn more about how your cells behave, how the fear, how the joy, how the love is, kind of stored inside your cells and how it impacts your health. What you believe is, how is it going to either heal you or, making you suffer.
Mm.
So I would recommend that highly, highly. Dr. Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief.
Awesome. I love it. And with that, I think we have just come to an end of our episode today. But thank you
Mhm.
so much for sharing your insights on, on your journey and what you do. It has really been a quite of a ride, and a lot of things that I've learned today. It has kind of blown my mind away. And I'm pretty sure it has to our listeners as well. So if
Sure.
you can just raise your cup of your tea that you've got there and tell our listeners to go ahead and subscribe and like this episodes. And of course, I will link all the information about Puja in the description below, so you can find out more, and also link the name of the book as well, so our listeners can go in and kind of go through if this has intrigued their curiosity.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I think thank you so much for having me. And I feel that, this work is meant to help you heal yourself. And I want our listeners to know that you have the power to heal yourself. It is a matter of making a choice. Yes, I want to heal. That's all it takes. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah. If you
I
want to
love
get
it.
in touch with me, you can contact me if you want a session, puja@besthealingsolutions.com. In the meantime, enjoy your cuppa and subscribe to the
Being on
sipping
Stories podcast.
story. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Pooja. I really appreciate that. And I guess I love that you said you can heal yourself. So
Mhm.
cheers to that again. And I hope that you have a wonderful time and good luck with what you're doing. I believe that you're doing very divine work. So anyway, thank you so much again for coming on Sipping on Stories. I was very,
Thank
very
you for
grateful to having you here.
thank you. Thank you for having me.